So hello and welcome everyone to this webinar on media management in Drupal 8. Now, just a bit about myself. My name is Ivan Zucek and I've been a Drupal developer for around 12 years, which is a bit scary. I think my actual Drupal.org profile, because you can see how long the account's been around for, has been around for over 13 years, which is a bit scary. And just a bit of a shameless plug, I'm sure everyone's aware of this, but I do have a website over at webwash.net where I write about Drupal, and I'm sure all of you people know about that because you came through the site. But if you want to learn more about Drupal, head over there. And I do have a bunch of free courses, and I do have one premium course, which is a Drupal 8 site building masterclass, which at this point, I am still recording it. So there's about 6 hours of content, and it's only and it's pretty much more than half price off while I finish recording it. So check it out. There's a whole bunch of free courses, but if not, you can read all the tutorials, and also there's a link to a YouTube channel that has a whole bunch of free content. So let's quickly talk about the agenda for this webinar. So we're not going to spend too long looking at slides, because personally, I don't like spending too much time on slides. Most of this will be a live demo, but I do want to talk about the history of media management in Drupal 8, because things have changed a lot in the last 5 years. Because I think this year, Drupal 8 was released 2015, November-ish. So November this year, Drupal 8 would have been out for 5 years, which is amazing, which is crazy, because I still think it's a very new platform, and I'm still maintaining Drupal 7 sites as well. So we will look at a few slides and I'll explain the history of media management, and then we'll jump into the fun part where I'll take you through how to manage and create media assets, how to the media field, media library, and also how to embed media assets into the editor. And then I'll show you how to create a custom media type where you can embed and manage Instagram posts. Okay, all right, so let's jump into it. Let's talk about the history of media management in Drupal 8. So if you've built a Drupal 8 site in the last couple of years, I'm sure you are aware of these three modules: media entity, entity browser, and entity embed. Now, these three modules are the main modules that you would use to create media management functionality, because to me, a CMS needs the three following pieces of functionality, okay? 3. You need to store the asset, you need to browse existing assets, and you need to be able to embed them into the editor. So if you can think of another popular CMS, let me just say WordPress. In WordPress, you can store your assets and reuse them. You can embed them into the editor, and you can also browse them, okay? So for me, those three pieces of functionality are kind of like a holy grail of media management functionality. And about a couple of years ago, after about 2 or 3 years after Drupal 8 was released, the community created these three modules. And they actually work pretty well. And you can still use these modules right now. You can search for media entity, you can download it, you can install it. But the configuration of these modules can be a little annoying because there's a lot to configure. Okay, there is a lot to configure. So then came the media initiative. And Drupal 8 has a lot of these initiatives where they want to move functionality from the contrib ecosystem into Drupal core, because Drupal 8 needs this media functionality in core. You can't expect somebody to download Drupal 8 and then realize, oh, well, Drupal doesn't really do much out of the box using the standard installation profile, and then they have to spend an hour setting up all this functionality. And I actually had a look at one of my older tutorials, which shows you how to set up entity embed, entity browser, and the tutorial is about 3,000 words. There's a lot involved just to set things up. So with this media initiative, there's been about 2 years of work to move all this functionality into Drupal core so that people can install Drupal using the standard installation profile and see what Drupal is capable of out of the box, because that is Drupal's problem in my experience, is that Drupal's very powerful, but when somebody evaluates it the first time using the standard installation profile, you can't get a sense of just how powerful it is. And so there is the umami profile that shows you what Drupal can do, and that is a good use case. But 9 times out of 10, people would just install the standard installation profile. So with this media initiative, you can see with this list right here, out of the seven points, the top 6 are done. And I actually did a presentation on media management about 2 years ago at Drupal South, which is a Drupal camp in Australia and New Zealand. And I think when I took a screenshot of this, the first 3 points were crossed out. So it's good to see that a lot of this now is in core. And so over time, over the last couple of years, a lot of this functionality has been moved into core, but unfortunately, they haven't just dumped it all into Drupal 8. And you can't just copy and paste the media entity module and chuck it in and be done with it. So in Drupal 8.5, the media module became stable. Now, the media module actually came into Drupal 8, I think in 8.4, but it was hidden. And then in 8.5, it became stable. And then Entity Browser was replaced by Media Library in 8.8. Now, it became stable in Drupal 8.8, okay? And Drupal 8.8 was released in December last year. So what? That kind of sounds like ages ago, but it's really less than a month. I mean, December last year, okay? Now, Media Library has been around, I think, for 2 versions of Drupal, but in 8.8, it became stable. And then the entity embed functionality, there is no separate module for it. The actual functionality is stored between Media Library and the Media module. But that functionality was shipped in Drupal 8.8. So right now, you can, using Drupal core, which is amazing, you can store assets, you can browse assets, and you can embed them. Remember, the 3 pieces of functionality, which I believe is the important things. You can do all of that in Drupal without having to install an extra module. And during this demo, the only extra module I will install is the media entity Instagram, so we can embed Instagram posts. And that's it. Okay? So let's now, and the last thing I'll do is I just want to talk about the Drupal 8 release cycle because the reason why Drupal 8 is able to ship all this functionality is because Drupal 8, a new version of Drupal 8 is released every 6 months, which is amazing. Like, I've been around the Drupal land since 4.7, and once a new version of Drupal was released, no new functionality was added. Okay, so once Drupal 4.7 was released, it was only bug fixes and security patches. Once Drupal 5, 6, and 7 were released, you were stuck with that version, and everything had to be done via contributor modules. But with Drupal 8, there is a 6-month release cycle. So every 6 months, there's a new version, and every 6 months, we get new functionality. Now, upgrading between versions has been problematic for some of the versions. One of my favorite ones was upgrading from 8.3 to 8.4, but it wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't a massive upgrade like from 7 to 8 to 8. And most of them recently have been pretty straightforward. But the reason why Drupal ships so much new functionality is because every 6 months there is a new version. And when I actually heard about this at DrupalCon Prague in 2013, I was a bit skeptical because I was used to Drupal doing these monolithic releases, but hey, it's worked, and it's worked pretty well. So that is all the slides. See, I promised. There was only, how many slides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the rest are just agenda ones. So only 5 slides, which is amazing, which is absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's jump over to our demo. And so what I've got here is I've got a stock standard Drupal 8 site. I literally just installed it using the standard installation profile about 20 minutes before I started. It's brand new. The only thing I've done is I have downloaded a module which is Media Entity Instagram. And I'll talk about that in about 10, 20 minutes, because I'm sure you don't want to watch a composer download and check dependencies for about 5 minutes, because it's wasting my time and wasting your time. So that's the only thing I've done beforehand, okay? And so the first thing I want to do is I just want to show you the modules now that come with Drupal 8, okay? So, and another thing is I am running Drupal 8.8, so that's the important thing, okay? If you're joining now for some reason and you skipped the last 5 minutes, make sure you are using the latest 8.8. The 8.7 is still technically supported, but in Drupal 8.8, which was released about a month ago, Media Library is stable, and the functionality to embed assets into the editor is also there. So make sure you are on 8.8 or the latest version of 8.8. Okay, so let's go to extend. And so we go to extend, and then let's just search for media, and I'll just hide this one because you shouldn't see that. You can see that we have two modules, media and media library. So let me just install media first. Okay, so let me just quickly go back here. So at this point, all I've done is I have installed the media module, and that's it. Okay, and now if we go to content and then media, from this tab, you will be able to see all of your media assets which have been installed. Now, you may not be able to see this tab. If you can't, just go ahead and rebuild the site cache by going to configuration and then go to, I think, performance, because sometimes Drupal might keep the menu cache around, and that should fix it. But 9 times out of 10, after you install the module, you should see the media tab. And this tab is just a basic view. So if you know how to use views, so if you go to structure, views, it should be here. It is just a basic view. So you can go ahead and modify it and do whatever you want with it. Now, creating an asset is fairly straightforward. All you need to do is click on Add Media. And then from here, you can select from the different media types. Now, the media module ships a fieldable entity, okay? Now, a fieldable entity is the same as a content type. So if I was to go to content, then add content, you can see the two content types that come with the standard installation profile. And that's the same concept as the media types. So when you install Drupal using the standard installation profile, you should see these 5 media types: audio, document, image, remote video, and video. Now, if you install Drupal using the minimum profile or a custom installation profile, you may not see the exact same media types, but 9 times out of 10, you should see them. Now, audio, document, and video, they are pretty much identical. The only difference is they allow you to upload different file types. So audio allows you to, let me just zoom in. Audio allows you to upload MP3, WAV, AAC, document. I think you can kind of guess what it allows you to upload. Docs, PDFs, document style files. Video allows you to only upload MP4. Now, one question I get a lot is, Ivan, what is the difference between remote video and video? Okay, well, video, as I mentioned, will allow you to upload an MP4 file, and that's it. And then that file is rendered using the video tag, okay? Remote video allows you to enter in a YouTube or Vimeo URL, and then it'll allow you to embed those videos into Drupal. Now, of course, you can download extra modules and you should be able to embed other videos from other platforms, but Drupal core supports YouTube and Vimeo, which in my experience is pretty much 80% of all use cases. And then, of course, image being the big one allows you to upload images. Okay, PNG, GIFs, JPEG, and JPG, and also JPEG. And in my experience, I've always used image, remote video the most, and then a bit of document. Never really used video or audio. And you can delete those media types. And I'll show you how to manage the media types and also create your own media type towards the end of the webinar. So let's go ahead and upload and create a few media assets. So what I'll do is I'll first create an image, and I do have an image which I created earlier. Let me just upload this, and I'll put in an alt text of test image, and then I'll just click on save. Okay, so now you can see our media asset is here. You can see the thumbnail of the image, and you can also then filter by the media type, by the media name, the published status, and the language. And just imagine you had about 10 or 20 or hundreds of media assets. You can filter by them as well. Now let's add a remote video. So I do have a YouTube video, one of my YouTube videos, of course. And if I just add that in and click on save, you can see that Drupal went ahead and grabbed the thumbnail and also got the title of the video. Now, there is some embed functionality. If you want to look at the code, it's there. But Drupal core does have integration with YouTube and Vimeo so that Drupal knows how to grab the thumbnail and the title. Okay, so you can always see a thumbnail of the video. You won't be able to see like the video itself here, but you will be able to see the thumbnail of the video. Now, another question which I've got in the past, because I've done a version of this webinar a few times around media management, is about this Files tab. Now, what is this Files tab? Okay, so if we click on Files, you will see that we have two files here, and it is just the actual JPEGs. Okay. Now this files page comes with Drupal, and it is a way to see all of the files which have been uploaded to a file field. Okay. So if we click on edit and we look at this one, okay, any file which has been uploaded to this file field, and if I was to go to document and upload a file into this field, will appear on the Files tab. Okay, will appear on this Files tab. But also, the thumbnail that was downloaded for this remote video is also a file. Because Drupal actually has this concept of managed files. So if you have a look in the database, you will see a table, I think, called manage_files or files_manage. I'm not quite sure. But it is a table where Drupal just places all of these files just so it knows about it. Because you could write custom code to upload any type of file into the file system, but Drupal's not aware of that. Drupal's not going to scan all of your file system for content. Drupal needs to have it stored in the actual database. So this page just gives you a list of all of the managed files. But in my opinion, I never really use this page. You can't really do anything here other than you can see what the image looks like. This can tell you where it's used, but this count isn't quite accurate because this image is only used in one media type, but it says use count 2. So that can be, it's probably telling me the count because it's used in multiple revisions or something. I don't know. And 9 times out of 10, the editors, when I set up roles and permissions for editors, they never have access to this page. So I never really use it. But the media page I do use, because from here you can see all of your media assets. Okay. So that is how you create, well, this is a very basic overview of how you create and manage media assets. And now let's look at actually using one of these assets on a piece of content. And what I want to show you now is how to use the media field. Okay. So let's go into structure, content types. And what I'll do is I will create a featured field, which will allow an editor to reference a featured piece of where they can select a featured asset. Okay. Now I'm going to assume that you know how to create a basic field on a content type. If this is all new to you, well, now you're going to learn how to attach a custom field to a content type. But I do apologize about that. So I am going to assume you know how to add custom fields to content types. So let's add this to the basic page and click on Manage Fields. And here you can see the body field. Okay, the basic page only has the body field on it. And then if you click on Add Field, and then from the Add a New Field drop down, you should see Media. Okay, under Reference. And I will add Featured as the label, and then click on Save and Continue. And make sure the type of item to reference is media and allowed number of values is 1, because we only want to allow them to select one media asset. If you want to allow them to select unlimited, you can do so, or you can limit it down to 5 or whichever number you want. But I'll just leave it at 1 for now. And then if you scroll down, you can actually limit what type of media types they can select. If no media types are actually checked, it'll allow you to select all of them. And in this case, let's just allow them to select all of them and then click on Save Settings. Oh no, you have to select, okay. Actually, scrap that. You have to select the media type, which is a bit annoying. Okay. Let me just select image and remote video and then click on Save Settings. Okay, so now let's go to Content, Add Content, and then click on Basic Page. And then I'll call this Test Page. And then down here, we have this featured field, which is the one we just created. And we have a very basic autocomplete widget here. Okay. So let me just search for JPEG, and then I can select an existing media asset. And then if I click on Save, and then I can scroll down to the bottom, I can see the embedded media assets. If I was to edit that, and then click on, just search for the Bootstrap video which I uploaded. I can also see the Bootstrap video and it is embedded. Okay, perfect. It's working. Now, under the hood, this is just a basic entity reference field. So if you have done Drupal site building in the past and you've created a entity reference field to reference other taxonomy terms or any other pages, well, the media field under the hood is just an entity reference field because media assets are just entities. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, if we look at this widget, okay, in my opinion, this widget doesn't offer the best interface for managing and creating assets. Because for one thing, you can't actually preview what this asset is. Yes, you can search by the title, but if you don't know what the title is, how are you going to know what to search for? Okay. And if you want to create a new asset, you need to click on this link, which takes you to this page, which kind of breaks the flow of creating content because you're, typing content, blah, 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 blah. You're smashing the keyboard like I do when I have to write tutorials. And then once you get into the flow, you don't want to have to then jump into another section to create an asset. Now, luckily for us, there is a module called Media Library. I kind of sound like a salesperson, but this is the perfect segue into the Media Library module because the Media Library module offers an enhanced interface for browsing assets and also selecting them. Okay, so let's go ahead now and install Media Library. And let's click in here, search for media library, and let's install it. All right, give it a second. Okay. All right. So now if we go back to this page, okay, you can see nothing really has changed. But luckily for us, configuring media library is fairly straightforward. Okay, when you compare it to Entity Browser, which it kind of replaced, and Entity Browser, the module, is a very powerful module, but takes a lot of effort to configure it. Okay, but luckily with Media Library, all we need to do is go back to our basic page where we created the featured, the featured field, and then we need to go to Manage Display. Now, just a quick Fields 101, okay? The Manage Form Display allows you to control the widgets which appear on this screen, okay? So all of these are widgets. If you view the content, these are, where is it? These are formatters which are managed from the Manage Display. So there you go, there's a Fields 101 for people who don't know much about Drupal fields. So let's go down. So right now I'm on the Manage Form Display. Scroll down to Featured. From the drop down, you should see Media Library. Just select it. The only configuration really is you can reorder the tabs. Okay, but let's just leave it as it is. So we've selected Media Library. Click on Save, and then if we go back here and edit it, you will see a very different UI. So let me just remove this one because it's already been selected. And then if I click on Add Library, we have this fancy pop-up. And from here, you can upload your files or you can add in new remote videos. But most importantly, you can filter using a name or any type of filters. You can even see it, you can see it as a grid. You can see it as a table. But if I was to go to Image and then check it and then click on Insert Selected, I have now browsed, I have previewed from a list of reusable assets, and now I have attached it to this piece of content. And that's it. Now, if you are using the media, the media field already on an existing site, you really don't have to change anything other than switching the widgets. So even if you have a website with hundreds of pieces of content, as long as you are using the media field, you can install the media library and then go ahead and start using it, which is great. Now, if you install media and media library straight away at the same time, and then you create the media field, then the media library widget will automatically be selected. You won't have to come here and manually select it. The only reason why I had to come in here and manually select it is because I installed the media module first and then I created the media field. Okay. So that is a quick overview on how to attach the media field and also how to use the media library. Now let's look at embedding these assets into the editor, because this is the other important piece of functionality, embedding this stuff into the editor, because this is something that editors want and they ask for a lot. Okay, because yeah, sometimes it's hard, as Drupal site builders in the past, we would often look at designs, try and figure out content types, create, 20 fields on it. But 9 times out of 10, the editor would say, well, actually, I just want to embed an asset there. And so luckily for us, now we can do it. And to embed assets into the editor, we don't have to install any other modules. The functionality is in the media and also the media library module. Okay. If you have a look at the code, which I did because I was trying to figure out how it all works, media stores the ability to load. Now, media has a filter in there, a text filter called Embed Entity, and then the media library uses that, but also allows you to see the same UI. Okay, so let's go ahead and configure that now. So let me just refresh that. Let me just close this tab. And let's go to configuration. And we need to go to text formats and editors. And let's configure it on the basic HTML. Now, for people who don't know, this is a text format. So what we are configuring, take note of this basic HTML, it is this, okay? So we are going to simply add in a new button to the editor, okay? And if you come down here to toolbar configuration, you should see right at the end, and if you hover over it, it will say insert from media library. Now, if you don't see this button, make sure you install the media library module, okay? This button will only appear if you have the media library module installed. So all we need to do is click on it and then just drag it. So let's move it to media. And then we need to configure a few things. We're not done just yet. Scroll down to enabled filters and then make sure, this is very important, make sure you check Embed Media. And then here you can configure things, but let's just leave that as it is. And if you are using the limit allowed HTML tags and correctly formatted HTML, make sure this tag is added. Now, Drupal should be smart enough to add it by itself, okay? But just make sure this is added in there, okay? If not, then when you embed an asset, you won't see the image or video, you will just see this tag getting rendered. Okay, and then click on Save Configuration. And at this point, that's it, okay? Now, if you are working on a pretty big website, okay, you may have to tweak the filters, especially the order of the filters. Now I understand in this example we are using the basic HTML, and it is a very basic example. But in my experiences on a larger type of website, you may have a totally different text format. You may have a custom text format, and you may have drastically configured this. So if it doesn't work the first time, just come here and reorder your filters until it works. I know that's not the greatest recommendation to just fiddle around with the order until it works, but in my opinion, sometimes you just have to adjust it to get things working, because the align images may not work if it's before the limit allowed HTML tags, because then this filter may strip out, certain markup from this filter. It can get a bit messy. So in my experience, if it doesn't work out of the box, come here and simply reorder your filters until it gets working. If you really can't get it working, well then ask in the issue queue or somewhere. But I do know this order actually works because, of course, I tested out this webinar beforehand. Okay, so we've done that. Let's just go down, click on save, make sure everything is saved. And then if we come back here, okay, come back to our basic page. Let me just remove that so we don't get confused. Let me just add in a whole bunch of dummy text. I really should use one of those extensions that generates, what is it? Dummy text. I could, but okay. All right, so I've got a bit of dummy text in here. All right, perfect. So if we save that, we have a bit of text in here. Okay, perfect. Now, let's go ahead and we should see our image. This insert from library. And then if we make a new line, click on insert, we get the same interface, which is very important because you don't want to have two separate interfaces. And I've seen this happen on Drupal sites. Now I am going to rant a bit. And I've done this in the past as well, where you would have a totally different interface for attaching the same pieces of content to a field. as you would attach or embed an asset in here. So it's good that you can use the same interface, because then you don't have to deal with, support queries from the editors, okay? So we have here the exact same interface, which is awesome. If we select one of the items, we can go in here and it simply embeds it in, okay? If we click on Edit Media, we can add in our alter text. If you want, we can even align it. Let's align it to the right, and let's add in a caption, okay? And then here you can see caption here. And then if we click on save, we have our image. It's been aligned to the right, okay? And we can even do the same. Let's add in more text just so I can kind of show you how this all works. Okay, cool. And let's pop in a video, a YouTube video. And if you want, you can even reorder things, like move the entity within the editor, okay? Just by clicking on this, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there is a little thing which allows you to drag it, move it down there, click on save, and now we have a video, okay? Now, one thing to be aware of, because I know in the past people have said, the alignment doesn't work. Because as you can see here, if you have a look in here, all right, if we go and edit, and let's say align right, all right, it is aligned kind of here. But if we click on save, okay, it is aligned. Okay, good. Okay, that wasn't working for me before. But what I just want to let you all know, because this has caught a few people off guard before. If you are using a custom theme, which most of you would, okay, if you are building a custom website, make sure you support the following classes. I hope you can see that. Let me just zoom that in. There is this align right, okay? So when we actually select the align left and the align right, all that does is it simply adds this align right class to it. Now, luckily for us, Bartek has the CSS declarations, because if I was to change this to left, I believe it should align left. Yep, cool. Make sure you add these classes into your custom theme, or it just won't work. Okay, so just a bit of a heads up. In the past, I've had people comment and say, the alignment doesn't work. And I ask them, well, are you using a custom theme? They say yes. And then I'm like, well, you need to make sure that your custom theme has, where is it here? It's here somewhere. Here we go. Align right. You need to make sure your theme has those in there. And you can see it's actually pretty straightforward. Honestly, just grab that, copy that into your CSS, and you're done. Okay, so just a bit of a heads up. And that's about it when it comes to embedding assets into the editor. As you can see, it's very, very simple to set up, okay? In the past, as I've mentioned a few times, you can build this functionality using Entity Embed and Entity Browser. There's a lot more configuration involved. But as you can see, it's pretty easy to set up out of the box. The only thing you can't do from here is actually edit the entity. So if you had a media type with a bunch of custom fields, and you wanted to go in and modify one of the custom fields, you would have to then go to another page, go to content, media, and then just come here and edit it and do whatever you want. And yeah, do whatever you want. Okay. So just be aware of that. Another thing which may catch a few people off guard is if you do have a custom field in here, and you have embedded this asset in, say, 20 pages, okay? You've embedded it all into 20 pages, and you come here and modify the custom field, and then you come to your pages, you may not see the actual updated content because Drupal will cache this particular entity, okay? Be aware of that. Drupal 8 has many levels of caching, especially with like render caching and things like that. So you may have to do a site, like a cache rebuild across the whole site. So just be aware of that. You may get funny, like you may have not, I wouldn't say it's an issue. It's just, that's how Drupal works. The reason why Drupal 8 is kind of fast is because there's many levels of caching. Oh, I was going to say the reason why Drupal 8 is fast when technically Drupal 7 is faster from a performance standpoint, but Drupal 8 incorporates a lot of caching, which then eventually makes it faster. You may have to do a full site cache rebuild, okay? But again, as you slowly create more and more complex media management functionality, you're going to have to deal with this, okay? So just a bit of a heads up. Okay, so we have looked at this point, how to store assets, how to manage assets, how to attach them to content types using a custom field, and how to embed them into the editor. Now let's look at creating a custom media type. Because again, if you're going to do any decent amount of Drupal site building, you are going to create a custom media type. So let me just get myself prepared. I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay, cool. All right. So if you want to see all of your custom media types and manage them, just click on structure and then go to media types. And from here, you can see all of the media types. Now earlier, I did go through what they are used for, but let's just quickly recap it for the people who are joining now. Audio is for uploading like audio files, document files, image files, remote video for YouTube or Vimeo embeddable videos, and the video media type is used just for uploading an MP4, and that's it, okay? It's not going to do any transcoding. It's not going to do anything. So I would recommend, if you are going to upload a video, add it to YouTube, make it unlisted, and then just embed it in as a remote video. Or you can use Vimeo and just pay for like the premium, which is like $200 a year or something for the pro one, if you want to upload private videos. So from here, you can create a new media type. Now, as I mentioned as well, a media type is just like a content type. Okay, so if you are used to creating content types, vocabularies, if you've used Drupal Commerce and created like a product type, for example, they are all bundles because they are all fieldable entities, okay? And the UI for creating custom fields on a media type is exactly, and I want to stress this out, is exactly the same as creating a field on a content type, because other CMSs, WordPress, a lot of their plugins have their own type of slightly different field system on managing custom properties. But luckily, Drupal has a field system out of the box. It supports it. And so attaching a field to any other type of entity is exactly the same. Now, I'm not trying to bag out WordPress. I use WordPress, like webwash.net is a WordPress site, so I'm not trying to bag them out. I do use it on a daily basis. For me, it's a great platform. But one of Drupal's strengths is the field system, being able to create custom properties. And I will do a webinar on actual managing fields because I believe it's a very important fundamental knowledge you need to know about Drupal. Anyway, so to create a media type, just click on Add Media, and then you can add in a title, a description, and then you select a media source. Now, this is a bit of custom functionality for the media module, okay? Now, what is a media source? Well, the media source, let me just read the description here. Media source that is responsible for additional logic related to this type of media. It doesn't really explain it. Essentially, Drupal needs to know what type of file you are actually uploading. Okay, Drupal needs to know. Okay, this media type will be handling files. Okay, or this media type will be handling remote video. So then you can actually go in there and configure a few things, okay? or Drupal needs to know that this media type will be used for managing images. Okay, so that is what the media source is there for. Now, these media sources are the ones which ship with core, but of course, Drupal supports a lot more. Now, if you search for, let me just go for Drupal 8 media entity. Now, I'm going to the media entity project page because on that page, there is a list of media providers. Now, the media entity module calls them media providers, but media source, media provider, it's the same thing. Okay, when the media entity functionality was moved into Drupal core, they just changed the name to media source, but media provider, media source. Okay, it's all the same thing. And then a few of these were moved into Drupal core. So image, audio, document, all that stuff was moved into Drupal core. So from here, you can see all of the media sources that are available. Now, if you want to handle some type of external media source that's very custom, you can create your own media source. Okay, from a Drupal dev standpoint, it's just a plugin. When I say just a plugin, like it is just a plugin. You're gonna have to write a bit of custom code, but you can build it yourself. Okay, but come to this page and have a look and see if somebody, check and make sure that check and see if it's already been created. Because if it has already been created, then sweet, you don't have to worry about it. But the ones you would use and the ones that I've used in the past are so Twitter, Instagram. I haven't used Google Docs, but that's actually pretty well maintained, which is actually pretty good. Version 4. So here, if you have a look, you can see that if you want to embed tweets into the editor, all you need to do is download. Now, take note of this, okay? Make sure you read the project page. The version 1 was used for media entity, okay? Version 2 integrates with the media module. So we need to use version 2, okay? If we go to Instagram, again, you can see version 2 is intended to be used with the core media, okay? So make sure you use version 2. Now, this one isn't version 2, this one's version 4. So again, just read the documentation page. I think in the past, I've actually had it in my slides to always use version 2, which was a bit stupid because technically, if somebody wants to come here, they'll be like, hey, Ivan, there is no version 2. But just read the documentation page and they should mention which version you should use, okay? But if you are building a brand new Drupal 8 site right now, then you should be using the media module that comes with core. So just use the most recent one, okay? And I've already gone ahead and downloaded this module, and you can see that it's already nearly 8,000 reported installs. That's pretty good. 9,500 for Twitter. Google Docs, 63. Okay, not that many people are embedding Google Docs. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and downloaded this. So what I want to do is, let's go back and let's go to extend, and I'll just close all these tabs. And let me search for media, and I will install the media entity Instagram. And let me just give that a minute. No, it's not going to take a minute. It'll be pretty quick. Okay. And now if we go back to our media types, and let's go and click on add media type, and I'll search, and I'll just call this Instagram. I can never spell Instagram properly. Used to embed Instagram posts. Was that wrong? Whatever. Okay. And then from the media source, we should see a new source, Instagram. And from the media source configuration, we tell it what field will be used to store the URL, okay? Because we still need to store the URL somewhere. And we'll just tell it to create a custom field. And then further down, we have field mapping. Now, this is another awesome bit of functionality. What you can do is you can store metadata from this Instagram post and store it in a custom field. So this media source will extract certain type of metadata. And then if you want to, say, keep the caption, the Instagram caption in a custom field, you can go ahead, create the custom field, come here, map it across, and then when you were to create a new Instagram post, it'll save that caption into the custom field. Now, the metadata does change depending on the media source. So if we were to select image, for example, you get width, height, MIME type, file size, audio, what is it? Audio is just name, so on and so forth. Remote video has a lot. So you can see here, name of provider, URL, a whole bunch of stuff, okay? So let me just select Instagram, come here, and I'll click on save. And then if I go back to Instagram and then go to manage fields, I can see my Instagram text field, which will be used to store the URL that was automatically created. And now, if I go to content, media, and then click on add media, I can see Instagram. And let me put in a Instagram post. Now, one thing you may want to do is you may want to remove this name field. Now, this name field is a base field on the media entity. Because if we go here, we can't see it, okay? And a lot of entities do have base fields. For example, on basic page and articles or content types, the title is a base field, okay? It is hard-coded on the entity. Now, we can remove the widget. So let's go ahead and just disable it. But there will always be a name. So if you have a look at the database, you will see an actual name column. So if I go in there and refresh, you can see that there's no title. But on your site, you may want editors to actually add a name for each media entity. It's up to you. It just depends how you want to build the site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed this Instagram, add this Instagram post. And then here you can see that the media source went and got a thumbnail of the post of the Instagram tweet and also, Instagram post. And then it also generated a media name, okay? And then if we go in there and edit, we just see the Instagram URL. Okay, and you can see, of course, this photo is one of my photos from, I think, 2011. I think this was at DrupalCon London, long time ago. Okay, now let's go ahead and embed this into the editor, okay? So I'll keep this tab open up because I know I need to come back to it. Okay, let's go back to content and edit our test page. And let's just delete this. Click on our media library, click on Instagram, and then click on insert selected. And you'll see that it's only displaying the URL. Why is that? Because if we have a look here, you'll see it's only displaying the URL. Well, the reason for that is you need to go to Manage Display, and then on the Instagram field, from the drop-down, select Embed, select Instagram Embed, and this will actually embed it. Let's refresh and see if it works. You can see it goes ahead and embeds it. Now, one thing to be aware of is, another heads up, is especially with embeddable assets, it may not look exactly in the editor as it does on the front end. And the reason for that is because I'm sure Instagram is using a iframe. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's using an iframe, which is fine. And then if we come here, the actual editor is an iframe. So this is kind of like a cut down version of the post, okay? So just be aware of that. You may not get the exact, you may not get a proper WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, but it's close enough. It is enough for editors to go in there and be like, oh, well, actually, we want to move that here, blah, blah, blah. But you may want to adjust this so that editors don't have to deal with such a massive asset, which takes a lot of real estate. Because just imagine you're here writing content And as somebody who's written a lot of content, if you want to like move this around, it's like, it can be sometimes cumbersome to move this around and tweak it. So you may want to adjust, but that's more advanced stuff in the media module. You may want to just tweak which view mode is used when you embed it. Okay, so now I'm just looking at my notes, but I think that is it. So we have looked at managing assets, viewing them. So managing, viewing, reusing them, attaching them to custom fields, embedding them into the editor, and also creating a custom media type. I cannot think of anything else. Now, one thing I will mention, okay, I will mention, is let's just have a quick look. One thing I will mention. So, entity browser. So I mentioned, you don't have to use an entity browser anymore. Blah blah blah. Use something else and use entity embed. One of the great things about entity embed and entity browser is you can actually use it to create functionality where editors can embed any type of entity into the editor. Okay, because right now this media library doesn't support, as far as I'm aware, like it wasn't easy to figure out, but as far as I'm aware, you can't have another tab here which will allow you to embed other content. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Ivan, that is a terrible idea. Why would you want to embed content into the editor? Well, what editors love to do, and I've actually worked on this type of functionality myself, is they would write a blog post about something and then they want to upsell a piece of content. Or if they are using Drupal Commerce, which is an e-commerce framework for Drupal, they may want to embed some product entities. Or if they have some type of basic page for documentation, they may want to embed articles as well. So if you want to do that type of stuff, look at using Entity Browser and Entity Embed. So I do hope that those two modules don't disappear, because even though, if you look at the product page, the project page, you will see that it talks about, uploading files and all that stuff. So the copy here focuses on how to use it for embedding media. But in actual fact, I think now people can actually start using it. Well, you could always use it, but it can now be used for embedding like any type of media. And I highly recommend it for that. And I think I may do a webinar about that, kind of like a more advanced way of using Entity Embed and Entity Browser. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. There's still use cases. Okay, let's have a quick look at the questions. So send your questions across quickly while I get set up. I'm not really sure what screen I'll be using. Let me just leave that here for now. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me just start off in the chat. Okay, I guess what about the paragraph module? Yeah, so paragraph. So you can use paragraphs the same way. You just keep using the paragraphs module the way you have. If you wanted to add a featured image, a featured field on a paragraph type, you can do that. Okay, you can do all of that as well. And if you have an editor on a paragraph, you can simply embed assets the same way. So paragraphs is just used for, you just continue using it the way you use it, really. Yeah. So there's really no change to it. Okay, let's have a look at the Q&A section. So thank you. Okay, so first question is up the top. Can we select a media style inside of the editor yeah, good question. Yes. No, that's a brilliant question. I did not think of that. Awesome. Let's have a quick look. I totally forgot about that. Yes. So, what that question's about, I do know, because if I quickly search for media core. So with entity embed, oh God, you can see my face everywhere. So if we have a quick look here, using entity embed, you can select the actual, there's an example here somewhere. There's an example here, I swear. There's an example. Do I have an example somewhere here? You can embed, where is that? If I scroll down, I'm coming there. There we go. So using entity embed, you can select a thumbnail, okay, image style. Yes, I totally forgot about that. Well, no, I mean, I'm sure to answer your question, I'm sure there's an issue for it, but at this point, I have not seen that functionality. So what you would have to do, and this is one of the things where, you know, it takes a bit of time for this functionality to have like parity with Drupal core. What you could do is, and this is getting down to the nitty gritty of Drupal site building, is create a custom view mode, but then essentially you will have to create a view mode for each image style, which does suck in my opinion, because you just want to create an image style and that's it. And then you want the editor to go ahead and select it from the drop down. You don't want to have to go do that yourself. And then you don't want to have to create an image style and then go ahead and then have to, you know, create a view mode as well. But that is a good question. I'm sure somebody's working on it, but no, at this point it can't be done unless there's a module out there that does that. Please let me know. But no, at this point it can't be done. Okay, so the next question is media multilingual ready? That I do not know. Yeah, I always get multilingual questions. I don't really work, you know, working on websites in Australia, we don't really deal with multilingual websites. So I don't have that much experience with it. I do understand most of the world does, but in Australia, we very rarely. I mean, the only multilingual work we do is put Google Translate on a website and we're done with it. So I'm not quite sure, but seeing as that it is core functionality, it is, as long as it is a fieldable entity. So whatever Drupal core supports, it should support it, but I don't have any experience from it with it. So just give it a go and test it out. Okay, the next question is, maybe I'll click on that. All right, cool. Okay, so does responsive image stuff work on media images as well as normal images? The answer is yes, and the reason for that is because we're not doing anything different. So let me just bring this up, and this is why it's important to have fundamental knowledge of the Drupal field system, because the only difference, okay, so this image field is exactly the same as, oh wait, no, where is it? Content, article is exactly the same as this, okay? So this is an image field and this is an image field. It is exactly the same. Now, when you configure the responsive image stuff, I believe the last time I looked at it, you actually, most of the effort is done at the formatter level. Of course, you have to go and configure the breakpoints and stuff like that and the image styles. But then there is, I believe, a responsive image formatter. So all you need to do is configure it, come here, select the image, select the correct formatter, and you're done, okay? You're done. Now, I can't really promise you that it's going to work out of the box, just with most things in Drupal. When it comes to very basic use cases, it works, but then once you start building out heavy sites, it may be a little different. And so, yeah, it technically should work. Okay, coming back to the question about selecting a image style inside the editor, there is a URL in the comments. Thank you very much. I think Doug, is that how you pronounce your name? So if we have a look here, needs work. Oh, there you go. See, perfect. I'm sure it is there. Inserting. Great, awesome. Okay, so yes, there is an issue for it, and it should be in the next version. Oh, yes. Display image styles. Great. Well, let's have a look. Yes, select image style. Let's go right down to the bottom. Are there any examples? Okay. So to answer your question about selecting image styles from the editor, yes, it will be supported eventually. Okay, eventually, but I'm sure it'll be in the next version. And if you are brave, let me guess, is there a patch? Oh, there is. Nearly 48k. Oh, there is a patch. So yeah, if you are brave, you can patch it. Okay, so you can patch it. All right. So let's have a quick look at other. Where's my stuff? Let me go back to the homepage. Okay, other questions. Okay, another question from Carl. Does it work the same way with the Gutenberg editor? That is. Now, I have played around with the Gutenberg module. I have written about it. The Gutenberg module in Drupal, I might add. Now, the last time, I can't, unless it's changed recently, but I don't think it's it supports it. Now, the last time I played around with it, that's a good question. Let's have a quick look. Drupal 8 Gutenberg. You can see one of my videos. Media, is there media support? I'm not sure. Oof, that's good, man. The module is maintained. I love that. Module is maintained. I'm not quite sure. Essentially, when you uploaded an image into one of the Gutenberg blocks, access page, reusable blocks, Drupal core blocks support. There's no mention of it. As long as Gutenberg supports, the ability to reference entities, it should work, but I don't think you're going to get the nice drag and drop functionality. With the Gutenberg module, there were blocks, and when I say blocks, I mean Gutenberg blocks, not Drupal blocks. The term block is now loaded. It can mean 10 different things in Drupal. But I actually do have a video, so just search for it on my site about using Gutenberg. And there is a Gutenberg block type where you can, it's called like a media image or something. And it actually did have pretty cool functionality where you can click and drag images directly into it and upload it, but I'm not sure if there's full integration with the media module. I'll be curious to see that as well, if there is. Okay, so any other questions? Let me just clean up these questions. So please just add your questions in before we finish up. How are we going for time? Oh, it's only 11 past the hour, so we're 11 minutes over schedule. Normally, I want these to go for about 11 minutes. I want these webinars to go for about an hour. So any other questions? All right, that's right. If you can't connect to the Q&A, just throw your questions in to the comments. It's perfectly fine. All right, sorry, can't connect. At what point in time is the new embeddable widget saved? Oh, you're asking good questions there, Mihaela, if I'm pronouncing that right. So the question is, at what point is the new embedded media saved? So if I come here, let me have a quick look. Okay, let's test it out. Why don't we? So if I come here and I've got a image, let me click on image. I'm going to just upload screenshot which I took. Test. Now, let's go here. Content, media. It has been uploaded. Okay, so it has been uploaded at this point. If I click on save, it's probably uploaded. Okay, at that point it is uploaded. And then you can see. Okay, so at this point it is uploaded. So if somebody comes at this point and then they're like, screw it, I don't want it. If they come back, it should appear there. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. So there is a distinctive save section, and this is just me of a screenshot because I was trying to practice this stuff yesterday. Okay, so that answers your question. Okay, can I request a? All right, another one is, can I request a custom module talk like this in the future? Well, okay, well, we'll talk about future webinars in a second. Other question is, any advice from upgrading media from old into new? Okay, so another question from Michael is, any advice on upgrading media in existing older Drupal 8 sites to the new media library? Okay, so just a few things with that. Okay, with media library, there's nothing really to migrate because media library just displays your media entities in a specific way. What you need to migrate is your media entities over to the media module. Now, let me go back to my slides. Where are my slides? Slides. Oh, Drupal slides. Do I have it here? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so if I go back to my slides, I do think one of the last ones, where is it? Here, you can see section 7, upgrade / migration path to media. So I think at this point, there migration support between media entity and media may not be provided out of the box. I haven't done it yet, but I would recommend that you just search on the internet and have a look and see what other people recommend. Worst case scenario, when it comes to migrating the stuff, at the end of the day, you can write your own migration because Drupal 8 has migration capabilities in core. So you can just migrate it like any type of migration and then set up your mapping because it should be relatively simple. So what I would recommend, because when it comes to, say, the image field, okay, Drupal 8, you are migrating a Drupal 8 entity to another Drupal 8 entity using the same image field. So, you know, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's not going to be as hard as, say, importing in media assets from, say, a CSV file and having to re-upload files into the file system because you're working on the exact same website. If your files are already in the file system, that's pretty much half your job done. So what you could do is just do some basic field mapping, migration field mapping, and that is an advanced topic. I haven't done it myself, but I've done I have done my migration work in Drupal. Okay, so any other questions before we finish up? Now, okay, so yeah, I mean, coming back to future webinars, I do want to do more webinars this year. So I do have a few more lined up. The next one, at this point, I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling it's going to be a webinar on Layout Builder and using Layout Builder and how you can use that, because I do think that's a big game changer. Because just yesterday I was working on a older Drupal site that was utilizing paragraphs that they just wanted to lift and shift and copy. And the paragraphs system, especially when you're using it to manage layouts, is a very painful system. Paragraphs is great for very basic components, but when you start using it heavily as a page builder, it can get pretty cumbersome. So I want to start using that. So just wait for the next email notification about it. So what I'll do now is, I just want to thank everyone for joining me for this webinar. What's going to happen now is I will upload a higher quality version of this over to YouTube, and there will be show notes of this webinar out there. All right, thank you. Okay, everyone's saying a great presentation on media, clear, concise, and to the point. Well, thank you. So I will be pushing out a video show notes on this, and you will be getting an email with the video, so you can keep it for future reference. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.